feel very fortunate to work here at Huebner Elementary with such great teachers and administration. I enjoy working collaboratively with them and sharing in their successes. And I think they chose me as the Huebner Teacher of the Year because of those relationships that I have built with them as well as my students. I try to inspire them through my love of teaching, my positive attitude, and my sometimes corny sense of humor. I enjoy working on committees and trying to work with the other teachers in planning programs and other things to improve instruction for all of the students here at Huebner. I feel these are some of the qualities that are the cornerstone for making a great school.
She has always had a good attitude, like she said. She's always putting humor into her teaching. She's inspiring. She's always helped us. Whenever we're stuck, she's always giving us advice and how we can help out on that problem or something. I think she was selected because she has that, just because she has that attitude, just a good positive attitude just makes you want to come to school. Like, because if you didn't have that, I would be gone. I would back out of school. There would be no point. And I don't know how I'm going to survive 6th grade because she is such like the best teacher ever.
Well, it was not surprising to me that Lisa Vieger was the Huebner Campus Teacher of the Year and Northeast Elementary Teacher of the Year, because she truly gets what it means to be a great teacher. She just has that winning combination of being caring and compassionate and fun and having a great sense of humor, but she also is strict and she has high expectations for her students. And her room is structured, but the structure has an intention to it, so she's flexible too to make sure her students are successful. Some might say that she's slightly competitive. Now, when I've talked to her husband, who's been up here several times, that no, she's very competitive. But I look at that as a good thing because that's what makes her students successful. But I think most importantly, the thing that I love about Lisa is that she has a heart for children and she has a passion for teaching and learning.
Well, she has the best teaching techniques and she makes learning fun. She inspires me to do my best on everything.
It wasn't until my sophomore year in high school that I had this fabulous math teacher. She was able to inspire us. She got kids that didn't like math into loving math. She used humor, she used our interest, she did everything. I really respected her.
She's funny, she has a great sense of humor, and I always laugh because she just makes me laugh. I mean, she's such a great teacher. It's amazing.
I was thinking of a student that came to our school from another district, and he had some big learning gaps. And when he came, he was sullen, he was sad, shoulders slumped, never smiled. You could say he had very low self-esteem. Well, the first benchmarks came, and I met with Lisa and her team, and his scores were in the 30s. So Lisa knew, well, I got some work to do here. The second benchmarks came, and he had 70s. And the team was like, wow, what did you do? Because we want to learn what you did because we want to do that. And I just loved her reply to the team. Well, it was simple. She said, I just met with him every morning. I encouraged him. I told him I believed in him. He can do it. And she said, and then I just taught him the material he didn't know.
She's reasonable. You don't really have reasons to question her. She's always doing everything right.
One thing motivates me, and that's my students. My students are the reason that I get up every day and come to work. When I stand at the door each morning and greet them and I see their enthusiastic smiles, it really gets me going. that enthusiasm is so contagious, and I feel it's my job as their teacher to keep that enthusiasm that they enter my classroom with going throughout the entire day.
Her jokes, because they make the lessons worth listening to, and that she always seems to want to be with us.
So I have to say about Mrs. Vieger, she just gets the art and science of teaching. Every child is important to her. They leave there feeling loved and important and cared for. At the same time as building those strong relationships, she's able to weave that relationships and the rich curriculum into just this dynamic classroom. And truly, that is an art.
I spend a lot of time trying to write engaging lessons for my students so the students are excited about what they do in science. They talk about what they do in science class. I also think it's important for the whole child to be educated, so I'm involved in things outside the classroom as well to try and promote a positive climate here at Driscoll, and I think people are aware of those activities that go on inside and outside of the classroom.
Well, Miss Joy is just a really great teacher. She's always positive when she teaches, and she loves what she does, and she helps us engage in what we're doing.
Well, I believe Miss Joy is a very great science teacher and really helped us whenever we had tasks that almost seemed impossible to complete. Whenever we needed to be engaged with and helped on certain questions, she was there for us. So that's what I'll always remember about Miss Joy.
Miss Joy is a valuable asset on our campus. She is a positive influence on kids, students, parents. Her positive attitude just permeates throughout the hallway. Her relationship building skills, not only with colleagues, but with parents and students. It's what every principal wants in a teacher, and I firmly believe that her colleagues recognize that and have elected her as our Teacher of the Year.
Well, first of all, Miss Joy is a phenomenal teacher, and she's always encouraging us to learn in science, and she really helps us, and she really has a bright smile on her face, and she's always excited to teach us.
I have three major influences, four if you count both parents, but my third grade teacher, Mrs. Apperly, who was so nurturing and so loving. She hugged every student as they walked in the room. She made every student feel like they were the most important student in that room, and it just created a love for school. And then my senior government teacher, Mr. Dingley, encouraged the inquiry where you research projects and you came up with your answer. You didn't have to find one right answer. You came up with what you thought was right, based it on what you thought was right on research, and he just really motivated us to want to dig deeper into events in history. And then my parents always created a love of education. They made it clear that education was a priority. We knew we were going to college before we even started kindergarten. It wasn't an option. We were involved in extracurricular activities, experienced everything that school had to offer. So those three groups of people, Mrs. Apperly, Mr. Dingley, my parents, really made education something that we knew was valuable to our future.
She really makes learning science really exciting and fun, and she always tries to make everything just go smooth and as fun as possible.
I'll remember that she interested me into the health career field, and she helped me understand a lot more about health and our body, so I would really like to pursue a career in the health field. And one time we did this really fun experiment where we put vinegar and baking soda in a bottle with a balloon, and then all of a sudden it just exploded and it went everywhere, and it was really funny.
She is nonstop. She participates in anything that benefits the child. She is part of our Stand Up and Defend Forum. She has organized our 7th grade field trips. She goes above and beyond as far as being a team leader. She is just overall enthusiastic and loves teaching.
Seeing my students engaged in the lessons that they're learning from and involved in investigations and using inquiry-based lessons to go outside the box to try and find a solution really motivates me, especially when years later students come back and they say, I want to be a science teacher, or I'm going to medical school because I just love science, that's a huge motivator for me.
She really helps us out when we need it. Like, we always need help, but she really helps us understand what we need to do and how we do it.
Well, I remember this one project we did one time when Mrs. Joy, as I was about to start, she looked at me and she gave me a really big smile and just really comforted me and just really gave me the spirit to learn and just to be as best I can be.
The best piece of advice that I would give to new teachers is to build a relationship and have rapport with your students. Let them know that you believe in them, that you love them, and you'll get the same in return. If you don't have the relationship, you can be the most brilliant mathematician or scientist, but if you don't have the relationship with your students, they might not be as engaged as they need to be to learn all those things that you are able to teach them.
I have to say Ms. Joy has a lot of X factors: positive, enthusiastic, loving, relationship building, innately has rigor in her instruction. So I have to say Ms. Joy has a lot of X's in her factor.
When I was reflecting on that question, I started looking at why did I vote for other teachers in the past. And one of the things that I looked for was teachers that I saw out and about on the campus, teachers that I knew were involved, teachers that I knew were here for the kids. Also teachers that like to collaborate. I'm big on collaboration. I think a lot of teachers know that about me, and it's kind of a joke that I'm at everything. I like to volunteer. I have a bad habit of saying no, so I get to know lots of people because of that.
Well, honestly, I think that, you know, when you look at teachers, and our teachers are very student-driven, I think when you look at her, you see not just a criminal justice teacher, but I think you see a teacher who's also involved with cheer and spirit. And so she doesn't just affect a certain group of kids, she's seen affecting a lot of kids. And so I think honestly, when you think of those great teachers, and there are a lot of great teachers, she's part of the community and not just in one area. And that's huge for a group of teachers who's very student driven. And so for them to honor her, I think that says a lot about her character. It says a lot about her commitment to the kids and about her passion for our community.
I think she was selected as the Campus Teacher of the Year because she really appreciates all of her students. She doesn't just teach them, but she becomes a friend to them, and she really cares for everybody.
I believe Ms. Schaefer was selected because she takes pride in what she does, and she's very devoted to her students, and she also gives back a lot to the school. Like, she helps chaperone the cheer and dance teams, and she's also the sponsor of our PAL organization, which does a lot of community service, and a lot of events here at school would not be able to function right without the help of her and her pals.
I know before I was even in her class, she was a face that I'd seen around that I was very familiar with at any events. I know she put so much time and effort into this school.
I think it's funny, she's obviously all the candidates are great candidates. They are all wonderful teachers. I guess being a former political science major myself, I think her teaching criminal justice kind of sits with me in the message we try and send to students. And we as parents, we as teachers are always telling kids, it's about choices that you make in life. Well, she has the opportunity to not only connect her teaching field, she brings in the speakers, she brings in DEA agents, she brings in police officers, she brings in all those people that kids see, but she takes it a step further. And when those kids visit, the criminal system, when they visit a jail, I think the message of, if you don't make good choices, this is what can happen to you and does happen to a lot of people, really hits home. And so I think that gives her an advantage. And I think kids come back thinking, wow, she really, sometimes we think as parents, yeah, whatever, your parents are just telling you things. Well, now you have real people who say, no, they know what they're talking about, we just didn't listen. And so I think that's the advantage she has.
My high school teacher, when I went to Lee High School, graduated in 1986, was Stanley Lehazar. And Mr. L was my criminal justice teacher, and he kind of inspired my love of criminal justice. I went into the profession, was working as a probation officer, and I would come guest speak for him. we kind of developed another relationship out of high school, just became friends, and he's the one who called me when the opening became available here at Lee. And I'll be honest, it took him a few times convincing me to apply. I would just kind of, okay, Mr. L, I got it, and I'd hang up and go on about my day. And then finally one day he called and got me in the right mood, and I applied and got offered the job in Miss Taylor's office on my interview.
What makes her so special is that she's always kept in contact with us. I see when I had her as a sophomore, there would be kids walking into her class several times throughout the year just to tell her how everything's going, how excited they are, and how much she's taught them.
Just the amount that she cares for her students, she truly cares for them, and inside and outside of school. And she's not afraid to go that extra mile.
She teaches everyone very equally. She has like no favorites. Whether you are, close to her or not, she always, if you're doing something wrong in her class, she'll let you know. And if you're doing something great, she'll let you know as well.
Well, I think her X factor is the fact that she graduated from Lee. She is a proud volunteer, and I think she's invested in this community. I think that she holds the kids to high standards.
The students, if there weren't students here, I'm not sure that I would be here. I still get asked why I became a teacher, and it's because of the kids. I didn't know that when I walked in the first year, but I quickly learned that. I love those students, and I love what I do, and it's all about seeing their faces. I call it the light bulb moments, when you're teaching a concept and they light up because they finally get it, they understand what you're talking about, and you hold on to those, and that motivates me.
What I will always remember is just her personality and how great she always was with everybody.
I'll always remember just how she's always been there for me and my family. About a year ago, my father passed away, and Miss Schaefer was there for me and my family. And she's always there, and I know if I ever need any help that she's someone I can go to.
Hang in there. There are days when it's tough. There are days when you question, why did I enter this profession? But again, it's about the kids. It's being there for them. It's forming those relationships. My hope is that every kid has a teacher that they can create a relationship with.